Tearfund, and my job is to support youth groups and student groups think, how can we respond to this? So often people say, I get that, I should do something about poverty, but it's overwhelming and I don't know where to start. So I can help them think that through and just think of some practical actions and break that down to say we can change this, and this is how we kind of go about it.
An amazing job. It must be full of challenges, I imagine.
It is. I love it.
Can you just tell us why, just as you speak, it's obvious that you're so passionate about it. So why do you think it is so important that as Christians we do grapple with issues of justice?
It sounds really obvious, because Jesus was passionate about it. And we look in Luke 4, like why, Jesus says the first time he preached, why he came, he's like to release the captive, to set people free from oppression. And, we read the Gospels time and time again. We see him hanging out with those that are on the edge, those that are forgotten. And if it's in the heart of God, then it should be in our hearts. So it's just thinking through, what does that mean to my faith? It's not just an add-on. It should be the heart of who I am as a Christian, because it's at the heart of God.
Great, thank you. And as Onelife, in partnership with Tearfund, we take every 2 years a trip out to Uganda. And we do that because we just think it's so important for people who are being raised up as leaders to really begin to engage with issues of justice, to begin to see some of it with their own eyes and to work out what it means. And you just shared a bit about issues of justice, but why in particular do you think that young leaders need to not just be ignoring these issues?
I think it is a big issue. Poverty is huge, and it's together that we change it, and it's together when we combine all our efforts that we see things start to shift and change. And so as leaders, it's our responsibility to raise up our peers and those who follow behind us and say, this matters, this is important, and to demonstrate that in the way that we live our own lives as leaders and the choices that we make, but in pulling others and going, come on, let's do something about this. Let's gather and let's push people on and encourage them. It's a vision that is possible.
Great, thank you. And also kind of at the beginning, you've mentioned that part of your job is helping people work out practical things they can do. Because I know sometimes when I start to look at issues of justice, actually I feel really overwhelmed and I think, what difference can I make? And sometimes that can lead to us not doing anything. So can you just give us some really practical ideas of actually as we leave this conference, how can we go away and make a difference?
I think the big thing is awareness. So just a practical thing like watching the news or, getting online and finding out what's going on in the world. Sometimes, I know for me, I can just get so stuck in my routine and what I'm doing that I get in a bit of a bubble, and it's just thinking, knowing what's going on in our country, whether that's politically or just knowing on, the global issues, like what's going on in Libya at the moment. So just having that awareness and then fueling that into our prayers. So again, just broadening our prayer life so it's beyond us. And that, I think, when we pray, stirs us into other things. And just a really practical thing, like, how many of you here have Facebook? Most people.
I think everyone.
I think that's pretty much most of it. So on Facebook, we have an application called Super Badger, and it's about badgering in a positive way, those in power, and saying, could you change this policy, this situation? So sometimes it's just sending a little email to a politician to remind them of a policy issue. We've badgered people like Thornton's to say, will you stock fair trade chocolate? And they now do that with some of their products. So basically the idea is an email is they're written for you, because often it's hard to know what to say, isn't it? You think, I care, but I don't know what to say to this politician. The email's there. You literally just read it, and if you agree with it, you literally press send. There's a few actions up there every few weeks, and it's speaking up and using your voice in a really easy way.
Great. And one of the things which is great about Zoe when she comes to the conferences is that she's always so generous with her time. So she is around for all of today. So if you want to, chat some things through, if there's an area that particularly has grabbed your heart, then do come and speak to her, because she's got so much knowledge she can pass on. She's also doing a seminar this afternoon as well, and I really encourage you to get along to that. But you've also got something which we can do right now in this session, isn't there, to make a difference. Can you just explain a bit about that?
So I mentioned just a second ago about speaking up, to politicians, and we have immense power in this country. We can speak to our politicians, and they have a responsibility to listen to us and feedback, and we can change things. And it's about saying, let's use our power, let's use our voices for those who are living in poverty and have no voice and don't get heard. And we're going to take a campaign action as part of our worship, because we can use our voices to sing to God, but we can use our voices to campaign and to speak up to those in power. So we're going to, hopefully you'd have got one of these little Act Fast cards. And the issue we're going to speak up today is about water. Loads of people around the world don't have clean water, about 900 million. And loads of people still in this day and age don't have a decent toilet they can use. That's about 2.5 billion. They're insane statistics. And a couple of my colleagues went to Liberia a few years ago to see a Tearfund project where they had clean water and they had some good toilets built. And they were just finding out from the community what difference that having that stuff had made. And a lot of the villagers said, well, we don't get upset stomachs anymore, so that means we can send our children to school and we can dig in the fields and get food for our families. And then one 18-year-old girl, she's called Hakima, and she'd just been really quiet, and she just looked at my friend Jay and she said, for me, it just means that I don't get raped anymore. And I remember when he came back, and I just couldn't believe that he said that. And when people don't have toilets to use, it means because of dignity, they wait till it's late at night, and they wait to find somewhere really secluded, and that's when they go to the toilet. And that puts their safety at risk. And for me, that just brings the issue home of it's not about clean water to drink. This is about people's safety. No one should have to risk their safety just to go to the toilet. So the action we're doing today is we've done a lot of campaigning over the last 3 years on water and sanitation, and Difford have received all of those. And the government's committed. They're not going to cut the aid budget, but now they're thinking about how they allocate it. So this campaign card is us just saying to Andrew Mitchell, who's the Secretary of State, please don't let this issue drop. Please continue to campaign and prioritise people having clean water and toilets they can use. So as part of the worship, we're just going to fill it in. You rip off the last bit with your details, and we're going to put it in the box at the front to just use our voices.
Great, thank you. So actually by signing this can make a real difference for people who need us to stand up. As Christians, we're called to stand up for those who have no voice. And this just fits perfectly today as well, because in a little while, Bob is going to be speaking to us, and he's going to be speaking about speech and the way that, we can use our words. So if you've got those, we're going to, as Zoe's mentioned, we're going to do it as part of our worship, as part of our offering to God. So we're going to get to 3s and 4s in a while, and then after that, we'll do worship. At the beginning of that, we'll remind you, we'll invite you to bring them up. But why don't you get it out now? And if you want to do this, then grab a pen and sign it so that they are ready for when we come to our time